We look at these giant, incredibly fluffy Bernese Mountain Dog puppies, and I mean, our immediate biological instinct is to just fill their bowl to the absolute brim.
Oh, 100%. It's totally hardwired.
Right, like you see those comical oversized paws, and you just get this drive to watch them eat, watch them grow, and pump them full of calories. But what if the ultimate act of love for a giant breed is actually, what if it's deprivation?
I mean, it goes against every single caregiving instinct we have. We're
Yeah.
wired to equate a full bowl with a thriving animal. We just assume that if we put in maximum calories, we get this magnificent, incredibly strong creature out the other side.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping into this really fascinating transcript from the Bernese Mountain Dog Health Academy, and our mission today is to completely dismantle the assumptions we carry about feeding large animals.
Yeah, because it's really not what people think.
Exactly. Feeding a giant breed is absolutely not just taking a small dog's diet and
Mhm.
scaling it up with a bigger scoop. It requires a total paradigm shift where love is measured by restraint, which is tough.
Right.
So, where does this core misconception about feeding large dogs actually begin?
Well, it really begins at the very starting line, right? Puppyhood. The anxieties of small dog owners versus large dog owners they're entirely inverted.
Oh, that makes sense. Like with a tiny toy breed, you're just terrified they aren't eating enough.
Right, you're counting individual kibbles, you're worrying about their blood sugar dropping. But with a giant breed like a Bernese, owners look at this puppy and they know the end goal is a massive, like 100-plus-pound dog.
Yeah.
So they mistakenly assume that more food, and specifically faster growth, automatically equals a superior, more robust animal.
Which is such a human projection. We want this giant, majestic dog, so we try to rush the process. But pushing a puppy to grow impressively fast it's not a badge of honor, it's actually a massive vulnerability.
Yeah, and to understand the mechanics of why that is so dangerous, you have to look at the growth plates.
Okay.
A large breed puppy's skeletal system is undergoing this massive rapid transformation. At the ends of their long bones, they have these areas of soft cartilage where new bone is basically being formed.
Oh, wow.
And those growth plates have a specific, genetically programmed window to close and harden into solid bone. When an owner overfeeds to accelerate growth, they are rapidly packing heavy muscle and fat onto a skeletal frame that is, it's still literally made of soft, pliable cartilage.
It honestly makes me think of like building a massive skyscraper.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. If you're constructing a high-rise, you do not rush pouring the concrete foundation just so you can slap the upper floors on faster. If you load up the weight of the building before the concrete at the base has properly cured and hardened, the entire structure is eventually going to fracture and just collapse under its own weight.
What's fascinating here is taking that structural analogy into the chemistry of the dog, because it really comes down to precise mineral balance, specifically calcium.
Because everyone thinks calcium builds strong bones, right? So more must be better.
Exactly. People often assume that adding extra calcium supplements or feeding a higher calcium adult diet will help build those skyscraper foundations faster. But giant breed puppies have this unique biological quirk. Unlike adult dogs who can just naturally filter out and excrete excess calcium through their digestive tract, young puppies completely lack that regulatory mechanism.
Wait, really? So whatever calcium you put into their body, they just absorb all of it?
Almost all of it, yeah. Their intestinal tract acts like a literal sponge for calcium.
Oh, yikes.
So if you overload their diet, that excess calcium floods the system and actually disrupts normal bone remodeling. It causes the cartilage to calcify way too early, leading to severe, often permanent structural deformities like hypertrophic osteodystrophy or hip dysplasia.
That is terrifying.
It is. You're literally altering the architectural matrix of the bone by trying to be too generous.
So the goal is incredibly steady, tightly controlled growth. We are deliberately holding back the floodgates in puppyhood, but that creates a completely new challenge as the dog transitions into adulthood, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everything shifts.
Because once they hit that mature age, the metabolic engine kind of slows down, the intense biological demand of building the skeleton stops, and the focus shifts purely to maintenance. But how do we actually know what a healthy, full-grown Bernese looks like when they are completely covered in thick, heavy fur?
It's so hard. The fur creates this incredible camouflage effect. And it's compounded by the breed's temperament, too.
Because they're pretty chill dogs.
Very chill.
Yeah.
A Bernese is often a very calm, observant dog. They love to just stretch out on the cold kitchen floor and quietly watch the household. But that calm temperament masks a dangerously low activity level.
I see.
Their caloric burn drops significantly, but their appetite does not. This allows them to gain weight so slowly and so invisibly under all that coat that owners simply don't even realize it's happening.
But wait, aren't these dogs supposed to look like giant barrel-chested bears? I mean, how can a regular owner, without, an X-ray machine in their living room, distinguish between what is just majestic fluff and what is dangerous fat? Because if I just look at the dog, they look huge regardless.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot rely on your eyes. The majestic fluff illusion actively misleads you. The coat and that wide skeletal frame make the dog look substantial, even when they might actually be losing muscle underneath.
So you can't just weigh them either.
No, you can't even rely entirely on the scale because a number doesn't tell you about body composition, especially in aging dogs where fat quietly replaces lost muscle tone. You have to get your hands physically into the fur and feel the ribs.
Okay, but what am I actually feeling for? Because I feel like most people don't know the difference between a healthy rib cage and an overweight one.
Right. There is a very practical way to visualize this using your own hand. So make a loose fist.
Okay, I'm making a fist.
And run your other hand over your knuckles.
Okay, yeah, it's very bony.
Right. That bony, rigid feeling. If your dog's ribs feel like that, they are severely underweight.
Oh, okay.
Now, open your hand flat, palm down. Feel the back of your hand right over the bones.
Okay, yeah.
You can feel the structure, but there is a smooth layer of tissue over it. That is exactly what a perfectly healthy, lean, giant breed should feel like.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And if they are overweight?
Turn your hand over and feel the fleshy base of your thumb right by your palm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's much softer.
Exactly. If you're pressing into the dog side and it feels soft, squishy, and you literally have to dig to find a rib just like pressing into the base of your thumb,
Yeah.
the dog is overweight.
That is such a vivid metric. So big and healthy are not synonyms, which I guess brings us to the biggest saboteur of keeping that dog lean, the family kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen is the ultimate testing ground.
Right, because keeping a giant dog at that perfect back of the hand weight is incredibly difficult when we factor in how these dogs interact with our daily lives.
Yeah, Bernese Mountain Dogs are famously family-oriented. They do not want to be in the other room. They want to be exactly where the action
They're
is.
underfoot.
Always. That means they're right next to you during meal prep, during the family dinner, and during cleanup.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Think about the physical height of a fully grown Bernese. The family dinner table or the kitchen counter isn't some distant, unreachable shelf to them.
No, not at all.
It is essentially an unsupervised, eye-level buffet. I mean, it completely changes the dynamic compared to having a small dog hovering around your ankles.
The sheer accessibility changes the entire risk profile. Counters, trash cans, unintended plates on coffee tables, they're all within easy reach. Food stealing for a giant breed isn't just a funny viral video moment where they run off with a piece of bread.
Right.
It's a massive calorie surplus, and more importantly, it's a severe safety risk.
Right, because of the toxicity. I mean, they're eating human food.
Exactly. Human foods like grapes, raisins, onions, garlic, artificial sweeteners like xylitol, they're highly toxic to dogs. When a dog is tall enough to effortlessly clear a counter with one swipe of the tongue, a momentary lapse in human attention can literally become a medical emergency.
And beyond the medical risk, there is the behavioral psychology of it all. Food fundamentally teaches behavior. Every single time a family member slips a piece of cheese from the cutting board or, tosses a crust of pizza from the table, they are running a training session.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Rewarding a dog for putting its head on your lap during dinner teaches begging. Rewarding a dog for putting its paws on the counter to investigate teaches jumping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The real breakdown happens when the family isn't coordinating. You might have one person meticulously measuring out the kibble to maintain that lean body weight, but if the kids are slipping the dog treats all afternoon, the family is actively working against the dog's health.
So every single training treat, every tiny scrap has to be counted in the daily calorie total. It brings up this core philosophy from the source material that really forces you to reevaluate what it means to be a good owner. They said nutrition is really one of the first places where love has to become responsibility, not just affection.
It's a profound shift in mindset, honestly. Treats aren't forbidden, but they must be completely intentional. If you use food purely as an emotional outlet for yourself, you end up with an obese dog that has terrible kitchen manners and structurally compromised joints.
But the risks in the kitchen go way beyond behavioral quirks and gaining a few pounds. We really have to talk about the serious, acute medical emergencies. because what these dogs eat, and specifically how they eat, can literally trigger a life or death situation in a matter of minutes.
Yes. We need to dive into GDV, which stands for gastric dilatation volvulus. Most people just call it bloat.
Right, bloat.
And this is a recognized severe vulnerability for large, deep-chested breeds like the Bernese, the Great Dane, or the Standard Poodle.
What are the actual biological mechanics of bloat? Like, why does having a deep chest make a dog so susceptible to this? It sounds absolutely terrifying.
It is terrifying. To picture it, you have to look at the anatomy. In a deep-chested dog, the stomach is essentially suspended inside the abdominal cavity like a hammock, held in place by ligaments.
Okay, I can picture that.
Because the chest cavity is so deep, there's a lot of physical room around that hammock. In a case of GDV, two things happen. First, the stomach fills with gas, fluid, or food, and expands rapidly like a balloon. That's the dilatation phase.
So it swells up.
Yes. And because it's now heavy, swollen, and suspended in that spacious chest cavity, it can swing like a pendulum. If the dog moves awkwardly, or sometimes honestly for no clear reason at all, that heavy stomach swings and physically twists over on itself, that's the volvulus.
Oh my God.
When it twists, it seals off both the entrance and the exit. The gas is trapped, but more devastatingly, it cuts off the blood supply to the stomach tissue and often the spleen.
So the tissue begins to die almost immediately.
Exactly. The dog goes into systemic shock very quickly. It is an absolute critical emergency that requires immediate surgical intervention.
Okay, what are the warning signs I need to look for? If I'm at home, how do I know if my dog just has a mild upset stomach or if their stomach has actually twisted?
The symptoms are distinct and they're urgent. You will often see abdominal distension. The stomach physically looks swollen, tight, or hard to the touch. The hallmark sign, though, is unproductive retching.
Like they're trying to throw up.
Yes. The dog is heavily heaving, trying to vomit, but absolutely nothing is coming up because the stomach is twisted shut. You'll also see severe restlessness. They can't get comfortable, they're pacing, heavily drooling, panting, and eventually showing profound weakness or just sudden collapse.
And the guidance here is zero hesitation. You don't wait an hour to see if they settle down. You put them in the car and drive to the emergency vet.
Minutes matter. The mortality rate rises drastically the longer the blood supply is cut off. Because the stakes are so high, owners use preventative feeding strategies. Instead of feeding one massive mountain of kibble once a day, which creates a very heavy, full stomach prone to swinging vets, recommend splitting the daily allowance into multiple, much smaller meals.
So if I'm feeding smaller meals specifically to prevent this gas buildup and protect the stomach, does the type of food matter? Like, if I walk down the pet store aisle, I see all these trendy bags, grain-free, ancestral, boutique raw diets. Are those trendy diets actually safer for the stomachs of deep-chested dogs?
This raises an important question, and it's a massive trap that well-meaning owners fall into. We assume that because a diet is marketed with terms like premium, wolf-inspired, or grain-free, it inherently offers biological protection.
Yeah, you see that marketing everywhere.
But veterinary cardiology has actually revealed a deeply concerning link between many of these boutique, exotic, and grain-free diets, often called big diets, and a completely different fatal condition, dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM.
Wait, how does grain-free food cause heart disease?
It comes down to how large dogs process amino acids, specifically taurine, which is critical for heart muscle function. Giant breeds naturally synthesize taurine relatively slowly. Many grain-free diets substitute grains with high amounts of legumes, like peas, lentils, or chickpeas.
Okay.
And research strongly suggests that these high legume concentrations actually interfere with the dog's ability to absorb or synthesize taurine. So while the owner thinks they're feeding a premium, quote-unquote, natural diet, they are inadvertently starving the dog's heart muscle of a critical nutrient, leading to an enlarged, failing heart.
So marketing language absolutely does not equal nutritional adequacy.
Not at all. A beautifully designed bag doesn't mean the company has conducted the rigorous, long-term, peer-reviewed feeding trials required to prove the food provides the exact mineral and amino acid balance a giant breed actually needs.
Wow, that's eye-opening.
And furthermore, owners who casually experiment with homemade or raw diets face immense challenges. Homemade diets require absolute precision to be nutritionally complete. Good intentions simply don't guarantee a balanced diet, and raw options carry serious, documented food safety considerations regarding bacterial contamination, both for the dog and for the humans handling the raw meat in the kitchen.
Right, because you're preparing raw meat right where you make your own dinner. But, while bloat and heart disease are these sudden dramatic emergencies, the chronic everyday mistakes we make with nutrition usually manifest in much quieter ways,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, the day-to-day comfort of a Bernese, their coat, their sensitive digestion, it all relies entirely on staying consistent with a proven nutritional baseline.
Day-to-day comfort is really where owners witness the impact of their choices. Take the Bernese coat, for instance. It is a huge part of the breed's identity.
Obviously, yeah.
Nutrition provides the baseline building blocks for healthy hair, but if a dog suddenly has a dull coat, chronic itching, or a strange odor, owners often rush to blame the food and immediately switch brands. In reality, those specific issues are much more heavily tied to genetics, environmental allergies like pollen or dust mites, or even just a lapse in parasite control.
And we see that same panic with digestion, too. Some of these dogs just have naturally sensitive stomachs. But the immediate instinct as an owner when you see your dog have loose stool or excessive gas is to pivot.
Oh yeah, constantly.
You run to the store, you buy a different brand with a different protein, maybe salmon instead of chicken, and you switch it up. It reminds me of treating your dog's diet like a magic wand. It's literally like changing your car's oil every single time the check engine light comes on.
That is a great analogy.
You're just guessing. It might be a completely different engine problem, like a spark plug, and by constantly changing the oil, you're just masking the real issue or creating a whole new one.
And that constant food switching actually exacerbates the problem. A dog's gut microbiome, the bacteria that digest their food, adapts to a specific diet. If you abruptly change a sensitive dog's diet every time they have a minor digestive upset, you are throwing that microbiome into chaos.
Making it worse.
Exactly. You are actively creating more inflammation and instability in their gut. Any transition to a new food must be incredibly gradual, like over a week or more. And if your dog has chronic diarrhea or itching, the answer isn't a new bag of boutique food. The answer is a conversation with your vet to find the actual root cause of the inflammation.
We also have to talk about how this all plays out in the long run. Because eventually, these giant dogs transition into their senior years, and it seems like the nutritional rules just kind of change all over again.
They really do, because aging in giant breeds is highly individualized.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a universal senior formula that works for every 10-year-old Bernese. As we discussed earlier with the camouflage effect, some senior dogs become very lethargic, their metabolism crashes, and they require significantly fewer calories to avoid rapid weight gain.
But other dogs go the exact opposite direction, right?
Exactly. Some seniors start struggling with gut absorption. They lose muscle mass and rapidly drop weight, requiring a higher calorie, more easily digestible diet. You also have to factor in physical limitations. An older dog might have dental decay or jaw pain, physically struggling to crunch hard kibble.
Oh, poor things.
Yeah, they might require soft food or soaked kibble just to maintain their daily caloric intake without pain. The approach has to be completely tailored to the individual dog in front of you.
So what does this all mean? When we look at this entire journey, from managing the soft growth plates of a rapidly growing puppy to navigating the invisible weight gain and kitchen traps of adulthood, all the way to tailoring the senior years, what is the core takeaway for you, the listener, who is just trying to do the right thing for your animal?
If we synthesize everything we've explored today, the core message is that the goal of feeding a giant breed is never to feed the biggest appetite. It is never to grow the absolute most massive dog possible just for the neighborhood bragging rights of owning a 130-pound animal.
Right.
A true gentle giant should be fed for stable digestion, appropriate lean weight, and real structural comfort at every single stage of their life. Food is a meticulously calibrated tool for longevity, not a tool for maximizing size.
And I think whether you share your home with a giant breed like a Bernese, a tiny toy poodle, or you're just fascinated by the biology of animal care,
Right.
the principles here are incredibly universal. We really have to treat food as a mechanism for health rather than an emotional crutch. Which leaves us with a rather profound concept to chew on. We know that food inherently teaches behavior, and we know that humans, across almost every culture, universally use food to show love and affection. But if overindulgence causes skeletal damage, and table scraps invite behavioral chaos and physical risk, are we unintentionally training our pets, and honestly, maybe even ourselves, to equate excess with affection? Think back to that image of the overflowing puppy bowl. Does true, profound care actually look like setting strict boundaries and maybe, just maybe, embracing a little bit of deprivation for the sake of a longer, healthier life? Something to think about. Until next time.